everybody, what is going on? I am Lucas, and today we are going to be checking out the Marshall JMT45 here on amps of the Axe-FX3. And if you're new here, make sure you smash subscribe, because we are going to be going through all of the amps in the Axe-FX3. So let's take a little bit of a look at the Marshall JMT. The Marshall JMT is actually a pretty much clone of the Fender Bassman. It's Marshall's version of the Fender Bassman. They use Fender's 5F6-A Bassman schematic, but the actual British components in it actually give it its own sound. And it worked for Marshall because this amp sounds great in real life, sounds great in the Axe-FX, and it's worth a lot. I think it's number 6. Yeah, it's number 6 on the vintage guitars most valuable amplifier list. Clapton used one of these. It was known as a blues breaker on his famous '66 Beano album by the John Mayall Blues Breakers. And all this information right here, I'm getting this from Yick's Amp Guide. I'm going to put a link to that in the description if you want to check it out. I have tons of cool information on all of the amps. So JMT has two channels, but it has 2 inputs per channel. What's modeled in the Axe-FX is the brighter of the 2 channels, and it also modeled the jump setting. So you know, when you take the, I think it's you connect 1 to 2, like you go from here to here, and then you can jump it, and then it gives it a more hot sound. So you can use both of the overdrive knobs. The JMT actually uses KT66 tubes, which the KT tubes aren't used enough in my opinion. More people should use them in their amps. It's 30 watts, and like I said, it has 4 inputs. It's a very interesting amp because it has no master volume to it, so it's a super loud amp. As Cliff actually says on what we were looking at toward the bottom, and he says that like not many people actually crank the input past 3 because it would like melt your face because it's a super loud amp. I touched everything for the amp. I did it in authentic tab, so if you've seen Ideal, the master's cranked, and I left it right there. What's cool about the Axe-FX though is that we can just lower the level a little bit, and we don't have that ear splitting sound going on. So what you heard in the opening, that was what I set up everything on just a normal tab. IR wise, I'm using this as a stock one. It's a 777. It's the Ownhammer Marshall 412 cab with a 57. I looked it up the other day, and you can get it in a cab pack. This one, has the G12C speakers in it. I'll use this one because I kind of wanted, I never used it before, and I kind of wanted something a little bit different sounding. You also have the stuff, if you would do another stock one, you have the Marshall TV M25, you can use that one. I also have the ML Sound Lab hair metal. This one's based off of the 412 Marshall cab that's famous, like Guns N' Roses and The Cure and even Inve used. This is what it's gonna sound like with the Marshall hair metal pack. Guitar wise, I'm using my RG 570 with I really forgot what I have in the neck of this guitar. I know it's a bridge pickup, but I absolutely forgot. I know that's not very helpful, but what you heard in the opening, I played on my neck pickup, and I have an XB2N. I believe that's the Marshall I have. I'm sorry, it's the X2N. I got that right. I don't know where that B came from. And I've been playing mostly on the neck because we're still on the mode, so watch. I'm going to switch to the bridge pickup, and this is with the drive right at 3. This is what it sounds like. As you can see, whenever you switch to like a hotter pickup, it's oh crap. If you switch to a hotter pickup, actually gives you crunch that you would need to, you know, if you're playing like, you know, some classic rock and some blues type stuff. It sounds really great because if you push this amp really hard, it like starts to, it'll break up, and it kind of gets like that Bassman kind of like that really warm like power amp type of distortion. Watch, I'll push it a little bit more. This is going to be on the neck pickup. See here how it kind of gets that like wild type of tone. That's basically that wild type of distortion. So this amp's like super sought after by blues people, and it doesn't really have that same Marshall flavor that a lot of the older Marshalls had, like the Plexi and like the JM800. It doesn't really have that. It's really its own thing. So let's dive into how exactly I dialed stuff in. I didn't really, I kept the drive at a modest tone, lowered some bass, put the presence up a little bit. Nothing ideal. I messed around with putting a drive on it. Let me let you hear what that sounds like with a drive on it. Actually doesn't sound too bad with the drive on. I think I like it better with a drive on it and keeping the input low, because it kind of lets you control the overdrive. It doesn't get all crazy like it does when you push the input knob. Nothing in power amp, nothing in speaker. I didn't really mess with anything in here. Didn't mess with anything in input. Output, I definitely did. I scooped a lot of the mids out of it, because even just like on normal, like when I mean normal, like when you load up the amp for the first time, it's full of mids. It's very hairy sounding, I guess you could say, but I mean that's just like the character of it. Let me let you hear what this sounds like with the EQ on and off. So with lower output pickups, like when I'm using my neck, it tends to be okay without the EQ. It kind of keeps things in control, but whenever you go past that, like when I throw it in the neck, like it gets really hairy. So that's why I kind of scooped it like this, because I was dialing in for more of a crunch tone. Because if I was dialing this amp to be kind of more clean and very light breakup, I would push the mids, a little bit more mids back in there, because it does sound a little thin if you scoop too much of the mids out of it. Actually, let's put a little bit back in just for fun. Once again, I know I've said this before on other videos, I really don't like scooping my mids that much. I just like a really like clear and crisp type of tone. So that's why I tend to do it. And actually that EQ is going to come in handy, because we are about to bounce into the jumped setting of the JMT. And once again, I'm using the same IR. And I'm just using the treble drive. Because whenever you load up the jump for the first time, the normal drive is like pegged and it sounds like out of control. So this is gonna be, I'm gonna go with neck pickup, and then I'll go with the bridge pickup. So for fun, let's bounce over to another IR. Let's check out the ML hair metal. By the way, just to show you, this is what I have the proximity and smoothing on for actually all the cabs in here. So this is how I dialed in the jump. As you saw, I have it right here. I had it kind of low because I kind of wanted a clean sound, but I find the jump one sounds a little bit better whenever you push it. It doesn't get out of control as fast. Nothing in ideal, kept the master dimed. Nothing in preamp, really. Power amp, nothing in input. Output, once again, I did have the, I scooped a lot of 500 out because it was weirding me out. I didn't really push the bass all that much on the jump setting too much. So the jump's a little bit different. It doesn't, that overdrive, like a power amp characteristic of how it gets like really hairy and the mids kind of come in. The mids still kind of come in, but I find it's a little bit more controlled and it doesn't really get too much out of control. And I'll kind of mess with the treble drive and the normal drive to kind of give you an idea of what that sounds like. As you can see, once you push it, it gets hairy. The treble drive has a little bit more control than the normal drive. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap things up for the JMT45. If you want more of a modern JMT45, check out the Durley Shirley. It's a Friedman Durley Shirley. We actually have that one in here. It's actually not too far. See, the Dirty Shirley, have Dirty Shirley 1 and Dirty Shirley 2. I'm going to be going over those, so make sure you hit subscribe if you want to miss the Dirty Shirley. It's a more modern version of the JMT45, and it's a little bit better. It has a master volume, and it kind of cleaned things up. And Yick was saying on his guide that he loves it, and it sounds really, really cool. Alright, guys, if you like this video, make sure you smash like. Lets YouTube know that I'm a cool dude. And if you liked it, make sure you sub, because like I said, we're going to be going through all of the amps in the Axe-Fx 3. So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments down below. Also, put in the comments down below, some secret tricks that you may have with the JMT45. If you use it in your patches, let me know in the comments down below. And that's for me, I'm going to have to be out. Peace.